Hello everyone, Mr. Stevens here with the next lesson in our statistics unit. Today we're looking at something called a dot plot. You guys should have seen this before, but we're just going to quickly revisit it to make sure we know what we're talking about. We're going to be using dot plots to organize data. Basically, we're going to be drawing them. But something that we're going to move into a little bit when we're looking at these different kinds of graphs and plots is that we're going to take the information from them and use it to calculate stuff about the data and to say stuff about the data. That's kind of where we're heading. I like dot plots quite a bit because I think they're very intuitive. Even if you had no idea what a dot plot was, I think you could figure it out. What we're saying here from this data is that the score 1 occurred one time because there's one dot. The score 2 occurred 3 times because there's 3 dots. You'll notice that there's a scale up the side here. And often dot plots are drawn that way, but that scale is kind of unnecessary because the number of dots, 2 here for the 3s, tells us how many times each score happened. Let's jump straight into drawing one of these. The biggest tip I can give you here is start by putting your numbers in order. There are quite a lot of numbers here, and it will make drawing the dot plot a lot easier to take 2 minutes to put them in order. Even though this is kind of an arduous task, it pays off. Again, we're going to make use of the crossing off as we go to make sure we don't miss any numbers. And by having these numbers in order, you'll see that this is actually most of the work in drawing the dot plot. Because once we have this here for ourselves, we're able to really easily see, oh, okay, there's 2 5s, so in my 5s column of my dot plot, I need 2 dots. Oh, there's actually 3. That's why the crossing out is a good thing to do. It's very easy to miss numbers when they're just in a blob like this. 2 7s, and I think there's only 1 8. Alright, and now we just draw up our axes. Along the bottom, we need scores from 1 to 8. Because that's what we have in our data. We start at 1 and we go up to 8. And the most we have in one number is 6. So we can put 6 up the side. And now, because we've already done this, it becomes a really easy task of just putting our dots. We can see quite easily there's 3 1s, so we put 3 dots over the 1s column. There's 5 2s. I'm using my highlighter here just because it looks a bit more like a dot, but you can do these in pen. We have 6 3s, 3 4s, 3 5s, 3 6s, 2 7s, and an 8. And there we have it. That's all there is to drawing a dot plot. You can see what I mean when I say that drawing the dots was made incredibly easy by just having these all here in order. So even though this took us kind of a second to do, we saved that time back over here. At least I think we did. Question I have for you guys to try on your own now though. This is not about drawing a dot plot. This is about reading a dot plot. And answering the questions based on the dot plot. We haven't, strictly speaking, seen something like this before, but the good thing about a unit like this, statistics, a lot of these questions, you're not supposed to really know the answer going in. All the answers to these questions come from this dot plot. So as long as you understand how to read a dot plot, you can get all the answers. So I want you to pause the video and have a go. I'll have some solutions when you come back. All right, and here we have the solutions to these questions. I just want to talk about a few of them. The first one here, how many games were played? The dots represent the number of goals per game, so each dot represents a game. So to get this into year 20, we simply just count the number of dots. The most common number of goals per game, well, that's easy. That's just the column that has the most dots. This third one, I think, may have been the most tricky. And to answer it, we need to just think for a second about what the dot plot is actually telling us. In 2 games, they scored 0 goals. They scored 0 goals in 2 games. There were no games where they scored 1 goal. That's here. In 2 games, they scored 2 goals. So how many goals did they score in those games? They scored 4 goals, 2 times 2. In another 2 games, they scored 3 goals. So how many goals did they score in those 2 games? 6 goals. And you just keep going on, timesing this number by how many dots there are, and adding that all up together. And if you do that, you get 86. And the last one, describe the data in the dot plot. I've used the word here skewed, and that's a word that we need to get used to using. Let me show you what it means. See how the data in this dot plot, the general trend is that it peaks right at the end. That means it's skewed to this side. That's a word we use to describe data that looks like this. If the dot plot had been shaped like this, where the peak was right in the middle, we would describe this as symmetrical. And these are the 2 words I want you guys to be using when you get questions that ask you to describe the data in the dot plot. Okay. If you have any more questions about any of that, please don't hesitate to get in touch with your teacher. You have some questions from the textbook to practice, so you can go ahead and get started on that. Thanks, guys.